Hi everyone, I am Unchahe, entry number 124947. Our Group 8, would like to present about the problem solving of one sample test of hypothesis and two sample test hypothesis. What is hypothesis testing? Hypothesis testing is an act in statistics whereby an analyst tests an assumptions regarding a population parameter. Hypothesis testing is used to assess the plausibility of a hypothesis by using sample data. Based on the available data, the test provides the evidence that the hypothesis is plausible. Statistical analysts test a hypothesis by measuring and examining a random sample of the population being analyzed. There are 6 steps of hypothesis testing. Step 1. State the null hypothesis and alternate hypothesis. Step 2. Select a level of significance. Step 3. Identify the test statistic. Step 4. Formulate the decision rule. Step 5. Make a decision. Step 6. Interpret the result. So now, we are going to use these 6 steps to solve the following equation. The problem statement of question 1 is most air travelers now use e-ticket. Electronic ticketing allows passengers to not worry about a paper ticket, and it costs the airlines companies less than paper ticketing. However, recently the airlines have received complaints from passengers regarding their e-ticket, particularly when connecting flights and a change of airlines were involved. To investigate the problem, an independent watchdog agency contacted a random sample of 20 airports and collected information on the number of complaints the airport had with e-tickets for the month of March. The information is reported below. At the 0.05 significant level, can the watchdog agency conclude the mean number of complaints per airport is less than 15 per month? Here are the solutions for question 1. There are 6-step procedure that systematize hypothesis testing. Step 1 is state the null hypothesis and alternate hypothesis. Null hypothesis is a statement about the value of a population parameter. The capital H is stand for hypothesis and the subscript 0 means that no difference. While alternate hypothesis is a statement that is accepted if the sample data provides sufficient evidence that the null hypothesis is false. The null hypothesis for question 1 is the mean greater than or equal to 15, while the alternate hypothesis is mean less than 15. Next, step 2 is select a level of significance. The level of significance means that the probability of rejecting the null hypothesis when it is true. It's sometimes called the level of risk. The level of significance of question 1 is as stated in the problem, which is 0.05. Step 3. Select the test statistic. Test statistic is a value used to determine whether to reject the null hypothesis. There are many test statistics. Since the standard deviations of question 1 is unknown, then we are using t-distribution to conduct a test hypothesis. The major characteristics of t-distributions are it is a continuous distribution, it is bell-shaped and symmetrical. There is a family of t-distribution depending on the number of degrees of freedom. As the number of degrees of freedom increases, the shape of the t-distribution approaches that of the standard normal distribution and it is flatter than the standard normal distribution.
My name is Sivai Singh and my lecture number is 2F5603. I would like to continue this presentation. Step 4 is formula the decision rule. The decision rule is a statement that tells under what circumstances to reject the null hypothesis. The variance of the critical variance is 1.729. The critical variance means the dividing point between the regions where the null hypothesis is rejected and the regions where it is not rejected. The critical variance can separate the regions where the null hypothesis is rejected and where it is not rejected. The area where the null hypothesis is not rejected is to the right of negative 1.729, while the area of the rejection's null hypothesis is to the left of negative 1.729. Therefore, reject null hypothesis if it is less than negative 1.729. Next, step 5 is make a decision. The fifth step is hypothesis testing is computing the test statistic, comparing it to the critical volume. and making a decision to reject or not to reject the null hypothesis. In question 1, the test statistic t is computed to be negative 4.46. The null hypothesis is rejected at the 0.05 level of significance. The decision to reject null hypothesis was made because negative 4.46 lies in the regions of rejection. We would reject the null hypothesis, reasoning that the critical volume negative 1.729 is larger than the volumes of T distributions, which is negative 4.46. Well, the last step is step 6, which is interpret the reasons. Since we rejected the null hypothesis, therefore it can be said that yes, watchdog agencies can compute that the mean number of complaints per airports is less than 15 per month. Thank you. That's all for me.
Assalamualaikum and good morning, Doctor. I'm Nur Azza binti Muhammad Munir, metric number 286048. Me and Ahmad Faris will answer question number 2. A company is researching the effectiveness of a new website designed to decrease the time to access a website. 5 website users were randomly selected and their time in seconds. To access the website with the old and new designs, we record. To compare the times, they compute new website design time, all website design time. The result follow. For a 0.01 significance level, what is the decision regarding the hypothesis that the new website design was effective than the old website design? The solution. We have 5 steps. Step 1, state the null and alternate hypothesis. The keyword is effective then. This question is one tail test. H null more than 0 or 0. Alternate hypothesis less than 0. Step 2, state the level of significance. The 0.01 significance level is stated in the problem. Step 3, find the appropriate test statistic. Because the population standard deviations are unknown, we use the t-test. Step 4, state the decision rule. Reject H null if compute T more than critical T or compute T more than negative critical T. We will find critical value with equation df equal to n minus 1. We got 4. So we refer to t-test table. We got 3.747. The curve shows the critical value when level of significance for one tail test is 0.01.
In the one-tail test, the null hypothesis is mu d larger than or equal to 0. Meanwhile, the another hypothesis is smaller than 0. Then we state the level of significance, which is 0.01. As the population standard deviation is unknown, so we use the t-test. The decision rule is we reject H null if the compute T is larger than the critical T value. The way to get the difference of each user is by using the value of all website design minus the value of new website design. For example, for user A, the value of all website design is 13 and the value of new website design is 25. 13 minus 25 and we will get the difference, which is 5. To find bracket d minus d prime bracket, First, we need to find the d prime. The way to get the d prime is the sum of different divide total number. The d prime we get here is 5.6. The using d of each user minus the d prime, then square it to get bracket d minus d prime bracket square. Standard deviation is square root of the sum of bracket d minus d prime bracket square divide total number minus 1. The answer that we get is 5.550. The way finding the t is d prime divide standard divide square root of total number, and the final answer that we get is 2.256. Conclusion: fail to reject the null hypothesis because the critical value of 3.747 is effective, then compute value of 2.256. Reject the null hypothesis and conclude that the new design did not reduce the mean access time. Fail to reject the null hypothesis. Correct. Reject the null hypothesis and conclude that the new design reduced the mean access time. Incorrect. Fail to reject the null hypothesis and conclude that the mean access time are inaccurate.